What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video from Pink Tourmaline. And this is going to go through the NDE near-death experience, a little excerpt from Natalie Sudman. So Natalie Sudman earned an MFA, Master's in Fine Arts, from the University of Oregon in 1989 in order to support her art habit. This is straight from her website, by the way. She worked as an archaeologist for 16 years and as a project manager in Iraq for a year and a half. Born in Montana, raised in Minnesota, home is Black Hills of South Dakota, southwestern Montana, East Oregon. So there you go. There's her bio. And just to give you a summary of her story and how she ended up having a near-death experience, is she had a very serious accident. And what you're going to hear next is what she recalls and what she recounts of her experience in the ethereal plane when she was out of her body, and the conversation she was having about whether or not to come back to life, whether or not she wanted to stay, and then if she came back, what her fate would be, what her life would be like, what her injuries would be. This was actually a discussion with everybody around her, with the energy and beings around her. And not only was that a discussion, because every injury was going to create different challenges, and those different challenges would have different outcomes for her in terms of her spiritual growth. And on top of that, she then also was given a sort of like it sounds like a general purpose for her life and for her mission. Now, the important thing about this story, you're going to hear in one moment, is that she talks about this idea, and I've kind of gathered this as well from other NDEs. She hits on this idea of every single person has a purpose, and there is no hierarchy in terms of the importance of one person's purpose to another, regardless of the amount of people that it affects. And I felt this as well, right? It's kind of like the different functions in a body. You know, while your heart and your brain might be the ones that you focus on the most, everything has a function, everything has an importance, and we want everything working. Even if our finger is bothering us, that can be a real problem. So we want everything working, and everything has, in a way, like a lot of great importance. Maybe that's not the best analogy now I'm thinking about it, because it's like if you had to choose one body function versus another, you might actually choose. But anyways, her point was that nobody's purpose, regardless of how it appears in terms of magnitude, is any less or more important. Whatever our individual objective is in a particular life, that's what we shouldn't think about it and make comparisons. I thought that was a beautiful takeaway, because I've started to feel like that makes a lot of sense to me as well. So anyways, we're going to get into the mix, and the main takeaway from this, or one of the big quotes that I got as well, was difficult situations can serve valuable ends. So we're going to listen to this, and then I'm going to give my 2 cents at the end. I'm also going to talk a little bit again about the last two how this ties into the question that I've been having in the last 2 videos about really negative people or evil people on this planet. I've been thinking a lot about that and how that fits into the entire picture. So I'm going to make some comments as well after we hear this. Check this out.
There was no fear. The perspective that we had from there was really that a human lifetime is not very long, and that sometimes difficult situations can serve valuable ends. If you go to a movie believing that all those actors are really killed in the movie, you're going to have a very, very different experience than if you know that this is a movie, and while it's going, you immerse yourself in it. And when it's over, you stand up and walk out, and all of those actors also stood up and walked away. Everyone's fine. No one is really hurt. And when that understanding, when that perspective is front and center, then the choice of injuries, it's not a dire choice.
So now she's talking about her discussing with this council of energies or entities about her injury. So what she's trying to say is, and I've heard other people describe Earth as a big show, as we're all taking on different roles or characters, our bodies, our lives, we're taking on these temporary roles, very temporary, obviously in the scheme of it compared to infinity, it's almost nothing, it's fleeting. But we're taking on these temporary roles, and then once the role is concluded, that's not the end. We just go back to where we truly are from. It's just like us playing a game, a video game, diving into the game, you fully immerse yourself. She's using the analogy of a movie. And this idea, I think this idea, even if you're of a particular religious faith, you would somewhat subscribe to the same notion that you're here for a temporary time, and then you go back, or you go into heaven, or whatever different belief systems people have. But I think this makes tremendous sense from, if you look at what people are saying in NDE after NDE after NDE, like our real existence is in the ethereal. This is just a temporary place where we come to learn and to grow and so on. And so, and she's also giving context to them starting to think about different injuries or remaining residual injuries that she would have for the rest of her life. And they were actually laughing about it, or finding it to be amusing. And the reason why she's setting it up this way is because the reason why they were saying it was amusing is because when you're in the ethereal, you recognize this is just a temporary thing. It's just like if you said, hey, I want you to go spend the night in like a fake haunted house, like on Halloween or something. You're going to spend the night there. And if you can make it through the night, we're going to give you $10,000. And through the night, right, people on the outside who know that it's a fake haunted house, maybe they'll be playing little pranks on you. But they know deep down, like the person in that haunted house is totally safe. They might be laughing, cracking up when the person is scared or jumping around, right? When we pull pranks on people, when we scare somebody, we're laughing because we know they shouldn't really be scared. There's nothing to actually be afraid of. So that person goes through that entire ordeal, spends the night there. They're terrified. They're worried. But then they come out, they get the money, and we all say, hey, you did amazing. We congratulate them. We were laughing the whole time because we knew ultimately they were totally, totally safe and protected. And this is what she's trying to say here. Even though to us on this planet, while we're in this life and we're immersed in this world, in this universe, these types of injuries or these types of outcomes, they're terrifying. They're saddening, whether it's happening to us or somebody we care about. We don't want to see other people suffer in pain. But I think it's interesting that she says the outside perspective, when you're in the ethereal, they don't look at it that way because ultimately they know it's just a temporary thing. It's just a show. And then when you return to the ethereal, you're going to grow possibly from these difficult situations. So there's actually a potential positive from it. Just wanted to clarify everything that she said there, because it could sound a little morbid, if you will.
We were laughing a lot. We would do the equivalent of waving a hand and put shrapnel into my brain and then fall down laughing, seeing a kind of instant holographic totality of the rest of my life and the struggles that would present for me. Or we would wave a hand and sever my right arm and fall down laughing, watching this instant totality of the rest of my life, trying to negotiate the world with only one arm. And obviously these things are not funny now, but from that perspective, they were very, very amusing. Eventually, we decided on the injuries. I set those injuries. And then I blinked again back to that large gathering of thousands in order to discuss in more detail what I had agreed to do. And I don't really talk about what I agreed to do, partly because it's mine. It doesn't matter to anyone else. You've all got your things that you're doing. And partly because in our culture, we're enculturated to put things into hierarchies. This thing is more important than that thing. What I'm doing is more valuable than what you're doing. What that homeless person is doing is less valuable than what that business owner is doing. But from the perspective of the non-physical, none of that is true. Whatever I'm doing is valuable, the end. Whatever you're doing is valuable, the end. So there isn't any comparison. There isn't any need for it. When that comparison is absent, then judgment is also absent. So I don't talk about what I agreed to do because I don't want it to be put in that hierarchy. I don't want to encourage anyone to do that. I want to encourage people to notice when they do that. So
I love that, right? And it feels right to me when she says that, in the sense that all of our lives, every single buddy on the in existence, there's a reason, there's a purpose. And while we might say, well, this person is doing something in front of millions or billions of people, they're impacting others. Well, that person is only working in this one spot, impacting maybe 4 or 5 people. And you might say, well, so the person impacting millions or billions, they're way more important. But what she's saying is, from the spiritual perspective, everybody has their specific role, and there's no, regardless of the number of people you impact or how you impact them, it's not necessarily, hey, this person is more significant or more important than the other person. We just have a specific role in this specific life, and we must fulfill it. And so in the grand scheme of things, everything is sort of on this equal playing field. And I love that. And I do feel like that feels true to me in my heart, if that makes sense. Now, the other thing I wanted to add at the end of this is such a great near-death experience recounting, and I think it has just a lot of really positive messages. But one thing that I have been focusing on a lot, for better or for worse lately, because of the Epstein files and all this stuff, is this idea of really, really negative, dark people that are doing all these crazy things. So have they broken out of the system? Are they rogues just like doing whatever? The more I think about it, I don't think that's the case. I even think they're probably taking on the roles that maybe they're supposed to take on in this particular lifetime, and maybe they're still going to have to fix themselves and change their energies. But like, I do generally think that everything is the universe, the source of all, whatever you want to call that, God, is aware of everything that's going on. There's no hiding. There's no hiding in the shadows. There's no, you know what I mean? Everything is fully known. It's an infinite, all-knowing consciousness. And so I don't think, it's not like things are happening that this consciousness can't control. Therefore, my assumption is that while a lot of these atrocities seem insane, how could these things happen? I imagine, maybe those people are also in some way fulfilling some role. As dark as that sounds, I mean, that's where I'm landing right now. That's, as I've been thinking about it. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts as well. People who are watching, and feel free to comment, because this is something that I've been going back and forth in my mind, trying to wrap my head around it. But maybe that's where I'm sitting right now in the grand scheme of things, that it must have some role, because it's not like the system, meaning when I saw it say the system, meaning this universe, the physical world, etc. It's not like it can run rogue and just take off and do whatever. It's all, likely under the guidance or control to some extent of an all-knowing consciousness, the source, God, whatever you want to call that. Now, there is free will. And from every NDE that I've heard, free will is essentially untouchable. Like, you always have a choice. So I suppose then there could be the other side, that they are kind of running rogue just by running amok with these crazy negative choices. But then maybe that's why there are somebody mentioned this in one of the comments in one of my recent videos. Maybe that's why we're seeing a lot of light workers, as they're called, coming in, trying to wake up the rest of the planet, rest of the consciousness, global consciousness, to get people to change the momentum of the earth. So maybe there's that. Maybe we can reconcile it that way. So maybe they are falling outside of the scope of what their original life plan was, of what they were originally supposed to do. They have run rogue, but instead of just intervening, that's not part of the rules of the system. Instead, you have to send people to intervene from within. Hence, this influx of light workers, influx of people that are having NDEs, influx of people that are trying to collectively raise the vibration, spread awareness, like break through a lot of these secrets and things that have been kept under wraps for so long. Maybe that's how it all fits together as well. That it feels a bit more plausible than these people are actually following the course of what they were originally intending to accomplish or achieve in this life. That actually makes more sense. So now that I think about everything, I'm thinking about this all in real time. Now that I think about everything, not that these things were necessarily meant to happen. I'm talking about the people at the very tops, very upper echelons of society that are doing the really crazy stuff that is now coming to light. Perhaps they have gone rogue, and perhaps they've gone down this like crazy chain of terrible decisions that was not part of their plan. Obviously, you always have free will, so you can do that. And then now the way around it is to fix it from within, to fix it from the responsibilities on the rest of us, to change the momentum, to change the trajectory, and get things back on track. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. Went off on a little bit of a tangent there at the end, but I hope that was enjoyable. And please, please, please comment below if you have questions, but also if you have insights as well, because as I've mentioned many times, this is an exploration for me. This is not me telling you guys what's up. This is me learning and sharing information in real time. And I do not by any means consider myself an expert in this space. I'm just trying to learn just like you guys. So if you guys have insights, like I said, that last comment was amazing on my last video. It shared a lot of great insights and information. If you have more stuff like that, please share it with me. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.